Today on episode 4 of the Sean and Bo Show, Marc Cuban opens up about his own prejudices regarding race and talks Donald Sterling.
Ray Rice has a horrible press conference.
And somebody told T.I. it was a good idea to take a swing on Mayweather. Wonder how that worked out. It's the Sean and Bo Show. Back for another episode. It's the Sean and Bo Show, the 4th installment, Bo. Can you believe 4 already?
You know, time's flying, but I'm having a great time doing this. How you doing today, Sean?
Doing great, man. We're just enjoying this Memorial Day. Got some basketball coming up tonight. And one of the bigger stories earlier in the week was Marc Cuban, who was talking about Donald Sterling in a roundabout way, race in America. And boy, that's always going to be a hot button topic, especially for a billionaire owner.
Yes, it's one of those topics where you want to tread lightly. I don't care who you are these days. Whenever you start speaking about race, politics, same-sex marriage, you say things that can be taken out of context, they're going to eat you up. And when Cuban was asked, I've looked at that multiple times, the question he was asked, he went to talking about stereotypes.
Yeah, so what he said was, I know I'm prejudiced, and I know I'm bigoted in a lot of different ways. He went on to say, if I see a black kid in a hoodie on my side of the street, I'll move to the other side of the street. If I see a white guy with a shaved head and tattoos on the other side, I'll move back to the other side of the street. None of us have pure thoughts. We all live in glass houses.
Oh, boy.
So, the part of this that struck out for me was that, he's being honest. Everybody appreciates honesty and keeping it real, as the kids like to call it. But for Cuban, what he's saying is, yeah, I'm prejudiced. And does he expect people to support him being prejudiced, or just that he's opening the conversation? It didn't really make sense. Like when I guess him and Bomani Jones went back and forth on Twitter about it, and that was kind of Bomani's take. Is like, well, that's kind of weird, man. It's not like we should be like, the guy admits he's got some slightly prejudiced tendencies.
Not to take the show in a whole nother twist here. You've seen it in America. It's been playing out since the early 2000s with these people who can be in one area of business or the public eye. It doesn't matter what they do. And then they get their 15 minutes of fame, and you get that one moment to let the whole world know these are my political views and I'm sticking by them. And ultimately, since I've seen this one thing is very interesting. Since I think 2008, when Obama won the first election, there's some 36 conservative talk show hosts. And I was thinking to myself, well, the things that Cuban said, maybe he'll land a deal on NPR here soon. He'll be telling us how to keep it real being a billionaire in America. These guys that try to play it off that they're regular Americans. They shop at Walmart. Oh, yeah, by the way, I own the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I don't think Marc Cuban is walking across too many streets anyway, unless he's talking about his Bugatti changing lanes.
Exactly.
I think that's about as close as old Mark's getting to the people.
I remember about Marc Cuban because he did this all at Indiana University. And this was a big deal with the broadcast.com. And I remember being a kid and someone telling me, oh, yeah, you can pick up Big Ten basketball games on this website this guy created. And next thing you know, he's doing a Diane Sawyer special, because I believe Diane Sawyer is another Hoosier alum. You can look that up, too. And you could just see the connection. Next thing you know, he's in a house, a mansion, with one couch and a futon. And you remember that special? And they're this guy owns the Mavericks, and he owns broadcast.com, and all this. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, when in Marc Cuban's life was he ever walking down this street? When was he ever walking down this street with the black guys in the hoodies and the guys with the tattoos? Because I've been to Bloomington. Bloomington's a very nice town. The only thing you don't want to be at Bloomington, at Indiana University, is a white female. Look up their track records of white females murdered and raped on that campus.
Uh-oh.
It is creepy. But as you know, in popular movies like Silence of the Lambs and my favorite movie, Joe Dirt.
Your favorite movie is Joe Dirt?
That movie is hilarious.
I don't know if I would go around admitting that in public, Bo. Come on, man.
Joe Dirt.
David Spade? Oh, no.
But anyway, Sideshow Bob. And I always say that. I think it's funny, Marc Cuban's going to go right to that because what's on everybody's mind. It's Trayvon Martin. that's been on America's mind. We still discuss it. We think, well, wow, there was a young man murdered with Skittles and the guy walked that did it. I don't care where you're from in America, what religion, race, or who your favorite NASCAR driver or football team is. That kind of troubles you if you have kids. And for him to go to that one, oh, it was just, hurt.
That's the only thing that he kind of backtracked a little. He went on Twitter, Mark Cuban did, quote, part one, in hindsight, I should have used different examples. I didn't consider the Trayvon Martin family, and I apologize to them for that. Part two tweet, beyond apologizing to the Martin family, I stand by the words and substance of the interview. So I can't remember what comedian it was. Maybe it was Bill Burr. He said,
great comedian.
Everybody's a little racist at night.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he's saying. It's like, I just don't understand, like, where does this move the discussion about race forward? I mean, like, what's the point of even bringing this up, Mark Cuban? Like, it's just, sometimes you don't have to say everything that's on your mind. It's okay not to, really.
Can I say this, though? It's, golly, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and it's going to be recorded and be out there for everybody to hear, but here we go. You know, I tell my wife this, and if you're close to me, you drink a beer with me, you hear my thoughts. And my views are this. In America, why is it when we want to discuss race, I don't care if we want to discuss females in the workplace, or we're discussing the lack of Americans playing pro baseball, why does it always have to be a middle-aged white man on the TV giving the answers? Because at the end of the day, the only thing he has to reference are his own prejudices, and sometimes those stereotypes and prejudices are just things that you had to adapt to keep you alive. I listened to Mike Greenberg talk about growing up in the village. I used to give him a hard time when I'd listen to Mike and Mike's show because I always thought he had this cush upbringing with two parents, you know, upper middle class in New York. But you know, you forget that New York was not the place to be in the 70s and 80s. Like,
it was very violent back then.
Yeah, you know? Like people were getting robbed around it. I'm like, oh yeah, like Greenberg's seen some stuff. So everybody has their own idea of where you grew up in America. But I think the problem is with these discussions, the reason we never get anywhere, Sean, is because we're not talking to the people that have to live it every day. Like if someone asked me those same questions, you know, I wouldn't initially jump to Trayvon Martin. Like when people talk about traffic issues, does anybody just start like, well, you know, Asians are horrible drivers? That's a common stereotype. It's played out in comedy on TV. People do not say things like that. But when you talk about race in America, you can start talking about rap music, tattoos, hoodies.
When did hoodies become so scary, man?
I love hoodies.
I wear mine with my pajamas in the morning. That's
you want to know where I always thought about hoodies and where the obsession came from was when I would see guys who had got full ride scholarships and went and played college sports in the small towns. They would come back home and you'd see them at a high school basketball game or football game. Yeah, and they'd have that gear on and they'd have that hoodie. And that's why I always wanted one. I thought it looked cool, you know, to represent your school. I see guys living in Albuquerque with Kirtland. You can see military, you know, outfits like that. You know, be proud of who you are and what you represent. And at the same time, I don't get that. I don't feel those same fears. I don't see young men in hoodies and automatically, I can't go down that street. I need to go the other way. So, yeah, Cuban crossed a line there. No, he shouldn't lose his team. No, it's not Donald Sterling-esque, but it's just another example of why still in 2014 in America with an African-American president, we're still having these discussions and we'll continue to have them.
You know, that's part of it that kind of puzzled me is like, is this, when it comes to these billionaires, is it class or is it race? Like, is the reason Mark Cuban would be scared to walk down a street with a kid wearing a hoodie because he's got tons and tons of money and he's scared of getting robbed or something? Or is would it matter who Mark Cuban was walking down the street with?
Well, I'm glad they talked to Cuban and not Jim Irsay, because Irsay probably would have had a whole nother take on that, But Irsay, shoot, that guy right there, he rolls around with $20K cash in his car, drinking and driving. But that's a whole other topic.
That's what I was telling you off the air. It's like, I'm kind of surprised that he got caught. Irsay seems like the type of cat that could probably talk his way out, and I'm sure he probably has talked himself out of plenty of little situations like that. That was the most surprising part about her.
That cop wasn't a Colts fan.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
guess
that
not.
was.
Caught him on a bad day.
You
Maybe
know?
his fantasy team wasn't doing so well. And Andrew Luck, Irsay, you bastard.
But back to Marc Cuban. We could sit here for 3 hours diving into why he said what he said, what it meant, and did his retraction statement really, help the Trayvon Martin's family get over his comments. But at the end of the day, Sean, this is going to happen again. And we're going to be back here next week, and somebody else is going to say something, and the week after that, and the week after that, because at the end of the day, there's so many formats nowadays for social media. You have podcasts like ours. Things are going to get out. People are going to do interviews. They're going to talk to reporters, and we're going to hear about these things. And nowadays, you know what? I think it's quite interesting in America. Everything's on the table. If you want to be racist and you don't believe in social programs, well, there's a group of people for you to go vote with. If you think we need social programs and healthcare and all that, there's a group of people you can be with. And I think it's interesting how even in light of what Donald Sterling went through, America is kind of forgetting this part of the picture. And we all talk about this. And I know this is going to get us off on a whole nother tangent, Sean, but I got to say it. How is this any different than if the federal government has little devices in your phone or your TV or you believe wherever they put them, and they hear you talking about, well, man, it'd be a nice night to smoke a doobie, or tonight would be a nice night to go get a case of beer and go 4x4, and then you get a knock at the door 20 minutes later. We have suspicion to believe that you're going to go out and commit a felony, and they take you in. Isn't that the same thing? How's it any different for someone to come into your house, record you, and then you pay a penalty in the public eye? I don't care whether you're Donald Sterling or you're just a bunch of guys wanting to buy some weed.
The crazy thing that I heard about the Donald Sterling tape was that he not only knew he was being recorded, but that was this girl's job, the V. Stiviano, that he hired her to be basically like he kind of wanted his stuff documented. He was losing his memory. I think he was going to write a book or something like that. So he, and being racist isn't a crime either. And in particular, we care more about these people, these billionaires that are in control of, maybe a team we like, or, certainly just prominent, because they, their opinion matters more to us, and it's about money. It's not like your random person, maybe a coworker saying something off color at a barbecue is going to get national headlines because people just don't care.
Right.
And that's, I mean, in your little analogy about the government spying on people. They, for the government, for law enforcement in general, crime's a crime. They want to bust criminals. But in terms of the media, it's like we put these people on a pedestals, these middle-aged white men that always seem to be in the center of, the
And
dialogue.
now middle-aged black men are starting to jump into this. I think it's very interesting. Me and my wife, we talk about it. I said, you're going to start seeing it with your culture. I was like, think of a guy who's entertainment. My wife is Hispanic, if you don't know. And I was like, George Lopez. I said, George Lopez has made a ton of money. And I said, pretty soon, one day, there's going to be something happen to a prominent Latino figure, and you're going to see George Lopez on CNN. I will give you 50-1 odds, America, on that. Place bets with me. But, it's starting to happen. And what is it? And I think, Sean, you hit it on the head, man. It's our obsession with the money. It's our obsession with the fact that we equate money with success in this country. No matter if Save-A-Lot is a very popular food chain in the Midwest. In Indiana, we have them. I think there might be one in like Los Lunas, New Mexico. The CEO of Save-A-Lot was a serial killer. He was traveling around to conventions and murdering people. Like, this is the type of stuff that I always say, like, if this was just some regular Joe who was the bag checker at Save-A-Lot, like, how different would this story be? They'd probably have movies and books about this guy. There'd be T-shirts. He'd be like a Gacy or something. But because it was a CEO and it was so out of character for them, people don't even really know about this. I bring that up. I'm like, yeah, the CEO of Save-A-Lot food stores was a mass murderer.
I was always a Piggly Wiggly man myself.
Piggly Wiggly. There you go.
You know, for some levity, Bo, after such a serious topic, I thought maybe we could turn to ESPN for some soccer coverage. This was a couple days back.
Another title up for grabs, La Liga and the Copa del Rey. Real Madrid, of course, with 10.
Colts owner Jim Irsay is...
Yeah, it sounds like ESPN soccer. That's the type of analysis you want when you turn to ESPN, the worldwide leader.
That is incredible. It sounded
It's
like
another... I like how she just gave up on it.
Yeah.
There, 5 seconds of dead air before the other anchor goes, so moving along to the...
this has been a problem with ESPN, Fox News, and I'm not even going to say it because, a lot of people will say it. Comedians will say it, and some of your Rush Limbaughs of the world, but it has nothing to do with how beautiful these women are, and it has everything to do with how they're hiring them. I think that they are really just looking for attractive women to fill these roles, and they're not looking for qualified women. And
I saw that in sports journalism for a little while, especially with sideline reporters, but it seems like they became a little bit more aware of that fact. Like, you have your Michelle Tafoyas of the world who are more seasoned, and they're getting the more prominent roles now.
But your ESPN Newses, your Watch ESPNs, the lower ones.
Fox News, definitely.
Fox News, they're bad about this right now. And you remember back early 2000s, late 90s, it became real popular to see gag reels on the internet from Europe. And they would always be like news anchors, and you'd be like, you and your friends would be like, oh my gosh, this woman could be like a supermodel. Well, it's happening here. Like Rupert Murdoch and a lot of these guys have been buying up our American broadcast stations over the past 10 years through the plight of our economic crash. A lot of these things went up for sale. And I'm telling you, America, you'll see it. We're going to start looking like European TV. Only thing that I'm hoping happens, and please, Rupert Murdoch, if you're out there, somebody listening, can we get Naked News?
Yeah, Rupert Murdoch's listening to us.
Hey,
Bo,
you never know. He has to scour for new talent all over the airwaves. Hey, Naked News. If you've never seen it, go find it on the internet. It is hilarious. The fact that they have people taking their clothes off while they're bringing us the news just confirms the fact that the news is nothing more than entertainment. If you've ever seen it, never seen it, you need to go find it.
Yeah.
It's classic. Classic and classy at the same time.
Okay, so back to the NBA. The latest thing with Donald Sterling is that apparently he reached some sort of agreement with his estranged wife that she's going to be the broker or the representative in the sale of the team. And the latest I heard today was that Grant Hill had somehow gotten together with two billionaires. They were both like minority owners in other teams. I think it was the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think one of them has a piece of the Golden State Warriors. But they're apparently really, really interested in acquiring the Clippers. So looks like this is going to drag on for a while. Although I'm quite surprised that if this report is true, if Donald Sterling has actually given up and is willing to sell the team. That seems shocking to me. Like I thought that this would go through a lot of litigation, probably still will, but kind of crazy to me that that's even out there at this point.
Well, they always say cooler heads prevail, and you give things time. That's why I believe the court process is like it is. You don't just things don't happen. You're not arrested, arraigned, taken to court the next day, and sentenced within a week because you need time for people to calm down. You need to let people think twice about things. And maybe Donald Sterling came down from his latest high blood pressure episode, and he's thinking a little more clearly now and thinking about the things he said to Anderson Cooper.
Well, you know what I think what it is the longer that this goes on, the longer we hear about possible player boycotts. When we have the face of the league, LeBron James, talking about not playing next. As long as this sort of stuff, this dialogue keeps on going, that value, that's, by the way, currently estimated at about $1.5 billion with a B dollars for the Clipper organization. Longer this keeps up, lower that number goes. So if he wants to cash out, now's the time to do it. It's not going to go up. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And that's why, that's part of me why I thought this wouldn't go on forever and we wouldn't be dealing with this at the start of the NBA season. But who knows? He's an old crazy person. So you don't really know where his head's at in all of this, if he's thinking rationally or not.
Yeah, I've been trying to ignore him. I really have, and move past, because at the end of the day, the NBA playoffs right now are exciting.
Yeah, how's did Roy Hibbert win the?
Hey, now calm down. He was looking good at the beginning of Game 3 there.
Yeah, the beginning.
The beginning of Game 3.
That's where they score them, right? The first quarter.
If we could just figure out a way to end the game in the first half, the Pacers would have been, well, they still gave up the lead there, but.
I knew it was going to happen, Bo. I knew it. Pacers started out strong, won the first game. Heat have won the last two. And now all of a sudden, just see this story? Stevenson, LeBron talking smack to each other.
Well, that's good to see. I'm glad to see.
Is it? You want Stevenson poking the bear? Really?
Yeah, I do. As a fan, as an athlete, I don't want guys that curl up and just let them roll over them, because you see that in a lot of series. Something that I thought was cool last night, if you weren't on planet Earth or you were buried under a rock, you missed Serge Ibaka. I mean, did you see that?
Yeah.
Serge Ibaka, 30 minutes, 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks. If there ever was a guy that missed his moment in history, could you imagine if the soft drink Serge was still popular right now? They would have to give him like $20 million. Like, there would be commercials for the playoffs right now. It'd be like, Serge!
I knew the dude was good. I knew he was good. But I really didn't think not having him was going to be as impactful as it was for OKC. I mean,
Did you see him reject Duncan?
Yeah.
When he tossed Duncan, I said to myself, it's like big men in the NBA are like offensive linemen and defensive linemen in the NFL. They do so much every play that you become complacent. As a fan, even as a coach, sometimes coaches have to be reminded to reward their linemen and their big men, because you don't see him. It's not flashy what they do. It's gritty. And what he did solidified every big man's draft status. The fact that we still have that category discussed along with, Dick Vitale and Jay Billis, along with the point guards every year. Because when you get a Serge Ibaka, when you get that Roy Hibbert, and he can make that difference, block them shots, and come off the bench and do that. Hibbert, please do that tonight. 15.7 rebounds. 4
You nervous,
blocks.
Bo? It's coming up.
I'm nervous.
It's
if you can't hear it in my voice, like, my wife was making fun of me because I was just so devastated on Saturday. If you don't know America, I throw beer on shelves. I work for a distributor. And I was throwing beer with the power of 10 men. You could have made a folklore story about me. And everybody who knows me on the route knows I'm from Indiana. And they're like, hey, you going to watch the Pacers? I'm talking to the men in the butcher shop about, hey, what's a good cut of meat? I'm going to watch the Pacers tonight. Come on. And then we get up to this lead. If I had a Twitter account, and anybody decided to follow it, you could laugh at me, because the first half, I thought it was golden. I thought they were going to play with that same power, that same force, and that same grace the rest of the game. But Allen wakes up. LeBron starts doing what he does, which is just the floor general. You ever just watch how LeBron can be coming down the court? You think he's going to drive the lane on you, and he'll just pass it to somebody, and you're like, how's that guy that wide open? He does that to every team he plays, and that just shows that he's in tune with the offense. And I heard someone comment, this is not an original thought, they were saying how LeBron studies his other teammates' playbooks. He doesn't just know what he's doing. He knows what Wade's trying to do. He knows what Ray Allen's trying to do. And then he talks with them about that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what is it about professional athletes that one guy can do that? The Peyton Mannings, the LeBron James, the Tom Brady's. But then there's Michael Vick. There's, Coach, I'm sorry, I'm running a little late. Traffic got me. I can't get over to practice on time and watch film. And then, when practice is over, Coach, I got to go. I can't stay after and watching film.
I'll tell you what I think it's about: money. Some people get paid, they get complacent. Other people want to be the best.
You're right. I could see that.
And it's rare. It's really a rare trait. I mean, you have your Peyton Mannings, you have your Michael Jordans, your LeBrons, but that's not an everyday
If
mentality.
George is one of those guys, if Hibbert is one of those guys, if West is one of those guys,
they are. They want to be the best at fishing.
Oh gosh, here we go with the fishing America.
Get your bobbers ready, folks.
Oh no, the Pacers are not going to be fishing here soon. I guarantee that Oklahoma City or the Spurs will be fishing before.
You think Hibbert's more of a grilled fish or a beer battered man?
He's got to be grilled because isn't he an East Coast guy, right? Yeah. Georgetown. Uh-huh. He's probably grilled. It's amazing to me how when I fry fish, there's a lot of people that don't eat fried fish. It must be like a Midwestern or Southern thing. Yeah, it's too slimy, America, when you bake it and if there was ever anything that was in the river that you were not supposed to ingest, I think it's gonna stay on a baked piece of fish. The only thing that I trust when it comes to coming out of our great lakes and shores of America is hot oil, lard. Lard can kill things, people.
Chef Bo Greer, everybody. Coming up, we're going to be talking about why baseball's on the decline, plus T.I. gets into a fight with Floyd Money Mayweather at a Fat Burger, and Ray Rice's press conference made Bo very, very uncomfortable.
And I'm going to inform you on why you should never hold your breath while going through a tunnel or traveling over a bridge. Coming up soon.
All right. It's the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Sean and Bo Show. This is sort of a spot for advertising, but we don't have any yet. You can fix that. Email us, SeanandBoShow@gmail.com. And Bo, you said something interesting in this last segment. You said, if I had a Twitter account, well, my friend, you do. At Sean and Bo Show. I'm going to make Bo start tweeting his crazy ideas when he's watching these games because I know he's got quite a few things to say that can't wait for the podcast. So follow us at Sean and Bo Show on Twitter.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show, and thanks for joining back in. We just want to lead off with this juicy little topic yet again, another NFL story, Sean. This one here, you may know about it. Ray Rice several months ago was seen on TMZ dragging his unconscious fiance out of an Atlantic City casino hotel. And this weekend, I believe it was Friday, he goes before the public. Mm-hmm. And, I've never given out an award. I don't think I have enough. We have enough listeners to give out awards. But if I did have an award to give out, I would give out the From Hero to Zero award to Ray Rice and his public relations team this week. If you haven't seen that press conference, go suffer through it.
Suffer's the right word.
Suffer through it. The poor young lady, what is her name? Janae, I believe. Yes. Janae is his fiance, which I believe they've called it off since all this has come out.
Shocking.
Shocking.
That is a shock.
The look that she generates at Ray when he leads off this press conference and apologizes. And ladies and gentlemen, he apologizes to everyone except the woman that he knocked unconscious. He apologized to the owner, the children of Baltimore, everybody on the team.
I think I heard Vladimir Putin's name in there somewhere.
He probably apologized to, anybody.
I'm sorry,
and everybody.
Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah, Michelle Obama, the list goes on. And the thing that I have to ask myself when I see these press conferences, and here, as me and Sean and I sit here doing this podcast, we know there's certain things that you say. There's certain ways that you lead in, and I'm an amateur. Sean has showed me this. So whoever's in charge of the public relations for the Baltimore Ravens or Ray Rice, if you can figure out a way to get our address or make contact with us, there are commercials. We give you our Twitter handle because I just found out we have Twitter, and we have an email. I would love to send you this award because that press conference was the saddest piece of horseshit, and yes, I'm saying saddest piece of horseshit I have ever seen in my life. The way that he looked through his phone after he got done with his apology tour that didn't even list the woman that was sitting right next to him. And yes, Sean, if anyone on earth ever had x-ray vision or the ability like Superman to heat people up with their eyes, it would have been Janae. And that's how it would look. The look she gave to Ray when he led the apology session off.
What was she even there for? Was it just to prove that he wasn't going to knock her out on camera?
And here's another thing, too, that's funny. Every apology press conference, since apology press conferences have been invented, you always go with the white Oxford shirt and the red tie. I'm a political science minor, and I know that. So whoever's in charge of his little press conference and told Ray to go out there dressed like a 3rd Street pimp, hustler / gangster who just got done giving a sermon to a bunch of thugs at the local correctional facility, that was a dodo.
Hey, at least it wasn't a white suit.
Ray screams shades of Ray.
Where is that white suit, Ray Lewis? I know you know where it is.
It's one of those things, Sean, where you just have to say, even as an adult, we really don't have a handle on this stuff. We try to let all the kids think that we got this shit under control. You know, it's like when my son asked me why. Well, why, Dad? Why? You know, you give him some roundabout answer that's really far from the truth, but you just put little tidbits of information that lets him, when he's 16 or 22 and he figures out whatever he asked you, the real truth, he's like, oh, Dad was lying his ass off. You know, that's what I feel when I get these press conferences. And, you know, on another topic that's along the same lines is Jim Irsay. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Here's 2 NFL stars. Jim Irsay is known for Twitter. He's known for going on local radio shows and commenting. He's a very well-spoken guy. I like to hear what he has to say.
His late-night Twitter posts are golden.
Yeah, and now I know that they were all oxycodone and hydrocodone fueled Twitter rants. So that, because if you don't know about this, March 16th, ladies and gentlemen, was the day that Mr. Irsay's world came crashing down when he got pulled over, and I believe it's Hamilton County, Indiana. Being a Hoosier, I can speak like this. It was Hamilton because I believe he lives in Carmel. If you have money in Indiana, you live in Carmel, Indiana. So I believe he was around that area. But anyway, he's driving too slow. And then when the officer starts to interrogate him on the side of the road, he notices that his speech is slurred, heavily slurred. Not to where you're like, oh, this man's had a few drinks. You know, right now, my voice is what it sounds like when you have a few drinks. I've had a couple drinks.
You've been trying to channel Dan Patrick on this podcast by drinking his Audible Ale.
Yes. People, I just want to let you know that the Dan Patrick Audible Ale is a very tasty beer. I actually throw that one on the shelves. It's made by Red Hook. But one thing that puzzles me is when it says on the side of the bottle, I left the bottle, I don't know where it is, right? It might be outside now. But it says brewed in conjunction with Dan Patrick. Is Dan crushing hops?
Yeah, he's manning the vats. He's got a big paddle stirring it around.
Because I could see him doing that. Like when Dan Patrick tells me about a Ram pickup or he tells me about a beer, I want to go out and get it. That guy he's original, man.
Remember, we were talking earlier in the first segment about Mike Greenberg living in New York during the bad times where it was real violent.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick did too. And that mental image to me is hilarious. Imagine little Danny Patrick rolling around New York trying not to get shot.
Yes, man. Oh, my gosh. I bet those guys have so many stories. And to think the sports that they ingested, I understand why they went down the paths that they went down. I mean, gosh, there was a lot of things happening during those days in the New York area when it comes to sports. So, but back to Mr. Irsay and Mr. Rice. You almost have to put the two of them together because this is the first time, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that Mr. Goodell, who I like, Mr. Goodell, you're out there championing for a bigger league, more football, but you have a black eye right now. You have an owner and you have a Super Bowl champion running back who is the star of a team that is in trouble. I mean, you let Ray Rice hold a press conference that looked like it was put together by the 8th grade film crew at my local junior high. And then Mr. Irsay, he toes the line of every rich billionaire who's ever gotten in trouble with the law. Not even 24 hours after he's let out, he's checked into a local clinic in Indiana, for his addictions. And I'm like, okay, so he's going to play this one to the hill. If you get yourself in a clinic with any job, any organization in America, everybody knows you have rights that are extended to you from that. So I'm like, he's lawyered up. I know a lawyer, someone who was very smart, told him to do that. It probably wasn't even about the addiction to the painkillers. It was about ownership of the Colts and public relations, something that Ray Rice and his crew definitely skipped. Whoever's in charge, they skipped that day in class. Ray Rice's public relations guy, you need to go call up the Irsay people and see about what's going on there because I know that Ray Rice got into a clinic, but the way that they position that statement is this clinic is in result, he's going to do this clinic because he's a first-time offender. No, The city of Baltimore, the owners, they have like what I want to compare to the bat phone, what Bruce Wayne had, where we know for a fact now that it's coming out that the mayor's office contacted the owner, I forget his name, who got his ring stole by Putin, the owner of the Patriots, about Aaron Hernandez. Kraft. He was contacted. These guys, you don't pay taxes that these guys pay and draw the crowds they pay in the cities, and it doesn't come with a few privileges. And one thing that I try to tell people, I'm like, don't believe the hype. What they tell us on the outside is what's cooked up to make us believe and go buy tickets and buy jerseys and watch the NFL. This is my belief, and you'll never be able to tell me different. The whole Ray Rice incident that's going on right now in Baltimore, football season's too close, people. I used to see this in college. Hell, I have seen this in high school. You can see an all-star football player get in trouble in June or July. And I don't care if it's a criminal proceeding or whatever. They'll either push that stuff out of court to where he doesn't have to go to court until the spring, or they'll put him in some sort of clinic or rehab facility where it's some sort of like 2.5-week program, and this brother's scoring touchdowns in 6 weeks. The only thing
it's just save face.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, we're doing something about this.
Man, I have seen this too many times. I've seen guys leave campuses when I was playing junior college football with a gun charge and be scoring touchdowns in junior college in a month. People, it's a tickets game. It's a show. It's entertainment. The reason we have this podcast is because we're addicted to the show that is sports entertainment. We're all addicted to it. We're fans. A fan is a fanatic. We're all fanatics.
Definitely.
So at the end of the day, I hate saying it. Yeah, I'm going to laugh at you, Ray, for sitting up there with all your money and your Rutgers education, which somehow, some way, the Republican Party wants me to believe Christie with the same Rutgers education is fit to run the country, but that's another segment. And give us that spiel and apologize to everybody but the young lady who you knocked out and drugged through an Atlantic City hotel on national TV because TMZ got the leak. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm okay with it, but at the end of the day, man, I'm probably going to draft you on my fantasy football team.
Can you hear the desperation in his voice, folks? He wants football so badly. Man, I can't wait for the season to start. And we were talking off air a little bit about baseball, Bo, how it just doesn't seem like it's the same. Well, it's not. It's football is the national pastime for sure now. I mean, what happened to baseball? Why aren't we seeing the same coverage during this time of the year? You know, this is Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial beginning of summer. It seems like it's totally on the back burner.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, they don't want to admit it, but if you play baseball now, you are upper middle class and a lot of times rich. It is a cold fact.
Or not an American.
Or not an American, because if you are in the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, you can go to the camps that are provided there. And you don't have that in America. I mean, I heard the Dodgers were thinking about doing one somewhere in L.A. or Southern California. But, you know, the thing that's going on, and I heard Colin Cowherd say this about how baseball is becoming increasingly athletic. I was a heck of a baseball player, Sean. I led in home runs. I could drill that ball. But what I noticed was the guys who were going to play baseball in the pros and playing in college were playing travel teams, and they're doing this year-round. They weren't going to play football and basketball like I was in the fall and the winter.
I think that's kind of across all sports these days.
Well,
from AIU ball, basketball to, I mean, I think more and more kids are picking one sport to play.
And this is why I always tread lightly when it comes to bashing the NCAA. Thank you, NCAA, for keeping football and keeping college basketball where it is.
They'll keep it where it is because the checks keep getting cash, man.
Whose fault is that, though? Think about this, Sean. Nobody told Major League Baseball to start going into high schools across America and drafting 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids and getting them to commit to these organizations. They did that to themselves. And college basketball and football, well, football you can't do it because you'll get killed. But basketball, they noticed something. They're like, hey, man, Patrick Ewing playing those years at Georgetown, we sold a lot of tickets and there was a lot of people watching on TV. But baseball never got to see that. You don't have memories of like a Mark McGwire hit a game-winning home run in the College World Series. You know what I mean? There's none of those stories out there like that. No history. And I really think that what's going on with baseball in America is there's no connection to it at the local level.
That's my theory right there.
Yeah.
Here it is. As sports broadcasting, and just the world we live in gets more technologically advanced, baseball is less appealing. Like, here's a perfect example. Real fun thing to do here in Albuquerque, New Mexico is go see our AA team, the Albuquerque Isotopes, who stole their logo from The Simpsons, play. It's cool to go down there to the ballpark, get a hot dog, the whole experience, the sights, the smells, the sounds. But I'm not going to, listen to the Albuquerque Isotopes broadcast on the radio. I'm not going to try to, find whatever obscure channel it's on and watch it on TV. It's being there that makes it, a nice experience. It's being there in person, seeing the grass, it's all of it together. That's what makes that experience special. And I think baseball has suffered from the, as we've gotten better at broadcasting sports, baseball is a game you want to go see live. And it's not going to benefit from HD TV. There's a missing piece there with baseball that
I agree.
It's something to touch and feel and be there, and that might be part of the problem. I know that the salaries are ridiculous in baseball, and that's in large part due to these huge television contracts. That's why, even though the ratings of baseball surely are not very high right now, they're still making money hand over fist just because of these big TV contracts.
It's funny. We were talking about race and stereotypes and all that good goobly gop at the beginning of the show, and one thing that it keeps popping in my head every time people talk about baseball and the fact that all the players are coming from overseas. Japan has a number of players, the Dominican, Cuba, they've always had players in there. But what I'm getting at is Americans, we all do this. I remember IndyCar when I was a kid after Al Unser Jr. won his last one. Everybody started, I hear these grumblings around Indiana, and you can hear it around motorsports. I don't know these drivers' names. I don't even know where he's from. I've never seen him race before. Well, you know who they're talking about? Elio Castroneves and, all these guys from Europe. Well, I'm going to tell you, the same thing kind of happened with baseball. People love the fact that they can connect with a guy who played his college football at Auburn, and he played high school football in Florida, and then he goes on to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Along the way, he touched so many lives from that high school to that college, and now he's NFL city. These pro baseball players, the dude shows up in America, he gets a billboard, a Nike contract, and the next thing I know, I hear him in a press conference, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't speak English. I'm sorry, America. We all do it. I don't care how liberal you think you are. You will turn the channel. You will become disinterested. But when some guy from, where are the Mannings from? New Orleans.
Yep.
When you hear that Southern drawl, or a Terry Bradshaw helps you eat your bacon and eggs, bringing you your football highlights in the morning, we eat that shit up, man. We love it.
I think that's why. What's his name? Chucky on ESPN. Gruden.
Yes.
He's not even from the South, yet somehow miraculously he's developed a Southern accent.
Yeah, like his time in Tampa Bay got him to start talking like that. You're right.
You're from the Midwest. He's from Ohio or someplace. Yeah. Whenever he gets in front of the camera,
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking
get
about.
the Southern charm out of left field.
And we as a country, I don't care what race, creed, color, I don't care who you are. We're attracted to it. Even Obama, golly, Obama would just start talking and you'd hear everybody. I remember going back to my hometown in 2008, and people would stop me on the side of the road, and it is the funniest thing when, as an African-American, we have an African-American running for president, because this never happened to me before, people. I'd be going into a supermarket. I'd be going anywhere, and people would stop me and be like, that Barack Obama sure is going to do a good job. And I'm just like, were we even talking? Do I know you? Like, what is this? Do you think I know him or something?
Yeah, you've got his number on your cell phone.
Let me call him and let him know that, what's your name? You're going to vote for him. Okay. And
I'll see him at church this weekend. I'll let him know. You're a big fan.
Yeah, it's just like, I had a buddy of mine who his grandmother was very old, and she thought just about every black person was Magic Johnson. And to her, for a half an hour for one day of my life, I got to see what it was like to be Magic Johnson.
Did Ray Rice apologize to Magic Johnson too, by the way?
He missed Magic. I want to say he might have apologized to Donald Sterling, too.
I don't know if you caught this. This cracked me up, Bo. Over the weekend in Vegas, where bad things sometimes happen, there was a fight, and it happened at Fat Burger. Now, somehow the rapper T.I., Rubber Band Man,
World star,
thought it was a good idea to potentially start a fight with Floyd Money Mayweather. Apparently, this was over T.I.'s wife. T.I. thought that there was something going on with Mayweather and his wife. They had talked about this before, a totally different time where T.I. approached him and said, "Hey man, these women are trying to pit us against each other," and Mayweather basically told him there's nothing going on. What are you talking about? Well, this time around, Mayweather didn't want to have the same conversation again. So when T.I. got in his face and was making these same accusations, he said, quote, "You need to get the F out of my face. That's what you better do." And T.I. went on to say, "You do it in the ring. I do it in the streets." To which Mayweather said, "My man, I do it everywhere. You can find out if you want to."
And yes, we do know, as Floyd Money Mayweather has a current a court case in Nevada where, they supposedly beat some guy, allegedly, but hey, at the end of the day, rappers want to be ballers want to be rappers, entertainers want to be athletes, and when these guys cross paths, there's just too many egos in the room. You have to get out of the way. I imagine that if anybody hasn't seen the video on YouTube or TMZ or many of the outlets that has it playing, it's kind of confusing to kind of figure out, well, who's on which side?
Well, two things, Bo. One, this was probably more exciting than most of Mayweather's actual fights. And two, like any good fight, I don't think any punches landed, but there were chairs thrown. And that's where it's real.
And I wonder if this makes, T.I., I've been saying T.I. is going to be a marked man. If you don't know anything about T.I., his last charge where he went to the prison, when he went to jail or whatever, it was his second strike for gun running. Like, he was a big gun runner. So if he's even caught, like, in 50 feet of a pistol, my man's going bye-bye Fed time, adios, like Leavenworth until you have gray hairs growing out of places you never thought you'd have gray hairs growing. So I always think to myself when I hear these stories now, and when it involves T.I., I'm like, I wonder if T.I.'s just like got this big bullseye on his face. Everybody's like, man, T.I. ain't got no guns. This'd be a good time to go fight him.
How stupid is this whole thing gonna? I just don't understand. Like, if you're T.I., a rapper, a musician, you're gonna be the one that can actually land punches on Mayweather? You are? You're not even a fighter, bro. It's like trained boxers can't even hit Mayweather. That's what makes him so good. Don't fight the man in a Fat Burger in Vegas. It's not going to end well.
Maybe this is where Mayweather is in his career. Maybe celebrity fights. Maybe, he'll fight T.I., and then in a couple of years he'll maybe fight Joe Rogan or something. He'll just fight all these other celebrities that want to kick his ass, because at the end of the day, you and I talked about it. And okay, let's say right now, you ever seen Family Guy where they do the hypotheticals? If you're on a desert island and you only have these two things to choose from, what would you take? Okay, and they usually both suck. So in this instance, you have to pick crews. Which crew would you be in? Because I've heard you talk about Floyd Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you and I, how we sit here and drink beer and talk and watch these games, I guarantee we probably would have been throwing chairs with T.I. Have you ever seen the guy, the way he drives around town in his Bugatti Veyron?
I think I'd be like, "Hey, Bo, you owe me $5 if I can hit Bieber with this folding chair.
Yeah,
you in or out?"
Put Bieber, Floyd Money Mayweather, and anybody else who wants to run with him and call them their homies. Yeah, and I'll get with T.I. because last time I checked, T.I.'s from Atlanta. He's a country boy. He probably hunts. If he's running guns, he knows some good old boys, because I know the type of friends I have that have a lot of guns laying around, and they usually have Confederate flags hanging around their house. So I'm betting T.I. was probably just trying to go enjoy a Fat Burger. He's going to go lay some money down, and here's this little punk posting pics on Instagram with his wife. Now, everybody knows there's two things you don't mess with the Southern man. That's his religion and his family. and you touched one of those, Floyd, and you just, hey, tread lightly. That's all I'm saying. These rappers, they don't just talk about this stuff. They actually do it sometimes.
It kind of doesn't really matter how good of a boxer you are against a gun. So
it's it. And I'm just telling you, I look at Floyd and his arrogance, and when these things happen, I think to myself, like, damn, Sean, is it true that really this country, anybody can be successful? Because there's a lot of douchebags out there with money, and he supposedly has enough money to buy the Clippers. Yet his women, every woman who's been married to him either ends up assaulted or aborting children because he's such a jackass. Like, I'm not surprised. When you told me somebody threw chairs at him, I got on YouTube, I showed my wife, I show everybody I'm close to, and they're like, I'm not surprised. He's a jerk.
Yep,
he's a jerk.
All right, Bo, we gotta wrap this up. But before we do so, because I know you wanna watch your Pacers lose.
Well, I want to watch
play.
my Pacers, but I have something here.
Yeah, what you were telling me not to hold my breath when I'm going through. What the hell are you talking about?
I want to start doing some weird news, and it's hard nowadays because obviously there's so many things out there on the internet that you can read, and you're not sure if it's true. But Huffington Post, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been there, try it out. Huffington Post does a real good job of fact-checking these stories. This one came out of Portland, Oregon. Okay, Oregon State Police have a 19-year-old whose name I am not even going to release because on this segment, I'm not trying to make fun of the people. I want to make fun of the regions they're from. So if it's from Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'll make fun of us. If it's from Indiana, I'll make fun of us. But in Portland, Oregon, someone needs to tell the teenagers over there because a 19-year-old was trying to hold his breath. He was trying to hold his breath, ladies and gentlemen, while he went through a tunnel, blacks out, goes head on with another vehicle.
Wait, while he was driving?
While he was driving. Now, when I played this game going over bridges in southern Indiana, crossing the Ohio, and when we go to St. Louis, you were holding your breath, but you were never driving. That would not be advised.
This sounds like the stupidest. I've never done this before.
Have you ever seen Portlandia? It's a great show, but
what's the point of this? This is just like I bet you can't do like
he was by himself.
Yeah, what? There's not even a friend egging him on.
This is going to go out.
What the hell are they doing up there in Portland?
In Portland, Oregon's listening, so you can get this out to other people in Portland, Oregon. The only time you need to be holding your breath that long is when you're hitting a bong. You guys have got it all backwards over there. You're trying to hold your breath while you're driving cars. Calm down, Portland, Oregon. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the weirdest set of news I can find this week, Sean.
And that's going to do it for episode 4 of the Sean and Bo Show. We'll be back next Monday. Bo will be crying because his Pacers will have been eliminated from the playoffs.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. And Tipper Pizza, man, that's it.